So today is Fertilizer Friday, right? And that means that I use a fertilizer. I visually come into my room and I inspect my tanks and I decide there and then, does this tank need fertilizer, right? So there has always been issues with active soils where like some soils tend to go out of production, and then we're left with trying to fix or use other soils and get around ways of fixing soils so that they become more viable for us to use in our shrimp rooms. And I have actually found a solution to this as well, so I think we'll talk about that today. In a nutshell, guys, what I basically do, right, is I don't go willy-nilly, which means basically I just don't rush in and dose everything. This is not like this EI dosing where you do big massive water changes and then you add a certain amount of fertilizers back in the tank. It's nothing like that, right? Because we don't do water changes in our tank, so we have to be more eyes on. That's the word I'm going to use, is eyes on, because we're going to use our eyes and we're going to visually inspect the tank, and then we're going to decide, does this tank need a fertilizer, right? So I have been doing this for a long time, right? It's probably close to 7 or 8 months I've been doing this, because that is how long we've had issues with getting ADA Amazonia. Up to now I've been using Tropica plant soil, right? The other day when I was in the shop, you can probably see down here, I actually bought everything they had in the shop, right? And I asked them, do you have any more in your warehouse or wherever it is? And they said yes, and I said, well, send it to me because I'm going to use it all as well for future tank builds and whatever else. And the reason I like Tropica plant soil, guys, is because it's a very, very dark, organic, volcanic soil, and the shrimp seem to love it. I actually noticed on it as well, the algae grows on it, like a little layer of algae. It's actually very visual. The thing I don't like about it is like all the other soils in it, it's not like ADA Amazonia, the original ones, where it is just so nutrient dense that it lasts forever. All the modern soils are not like this, right? So we have had to come to find a solution. And that's where I evolved my thinking into having Fertilizer Friday. By the way, Fertilizer Friday just stuck with me because I think if you have something that you have to do and you have to check, it's better to assign it to a day, so when that day comes you think, oh, Fertilizer Friday, let's go check the tanks. Right, so that's why I have my little schedules as I do, right? So we have been using Tropica. There's plenty of other plant soils that you can use. But the way that we do it is the same, right? You come to Fertilizer Friday, you'd use your fertilizer in your tank if it needs it, and you will see much better growth. By the way, if you hear the noise, I think someone's hoovering upstairs. So yeah, I've been using Tropica specialized fertilizer, and it has nitrogen and phosphates, I think, in it. N, P, and K, it has all that stuff in it. It's the one that is meant, let me just show you, because I actually was getting, I think this is the wrong bottle, this little premium thing, because there's two different versions of this. There's a green one and a brown one. I think it's the green one that you get, but when you buy it in bulk, guys, it comes as brown because they don't dye it, right? So, don't dye it. I don't mean lose weight, I mean they don't dye your hair, they don't dye it. Right, so I thought this was such a good product that I went away and I bought 3 litres of this stuff. Right, and yeah, this stuff is really, really good. It's probably the best plant fertilizer that I've used, as in when I've dosed it into my tanks, I actually see instant results within a week. Right, and so if you see an issue, dose this stuff, and then you see your plants recover really, really fast. Right, so remember, guys, as well, this stuff is pretty well concentrated, this stuff, right, and this is actually meant for heavy planted tanks, right? So as you guys know, most of my tanks here have very, very little in the way of plants in them. They have maybe a handful of moss somewhere in the back of the tank, and the reason I do it like this, guys, is because I want to dose 1 day a week, and I want to see the results, and I want to be able to adjust my dosing accordingly, right? So luckily for us, right, it's called Fertilizer Friday. With the way that I do it, you're lucky if I have to do this maybe once every couple of months, put a little bit of fertilizer in the tank. And this is where you have to use your eyes as well. You have to actually visually be able to inspect the tank and see for yourself, do your plants need more fertilizer? Right, it's as simple as that, right? So the issues I used to have before with my plants were that the moss specifically, right, it would grow long and stringy. Right, and this is a good indicator for me that the soil has lost its ability to feed the plants in the tank. Right, so I had this issue with Tropica, plant soil in the beginning, and yeah, I don't have it anymore. So it worked. It worked. If you guys are having issues with ADA, not getting ADA, this is a viable solution. Right? Get yourself a dark volcanic substrate. The only thing is, guys, is when you're picking your soil, make sure that you get a soil that can buffer the pH down quite low. Right? So tropical plant soil actually can buffer it down to about 5.5. And because we do no water changes in our tanks, it stays at that level for an awfully long time, guys. I have a tank up here that's like 10 months old, and the pH has been rock solid all that time. All right, shrimplets, let's actually show you some of the tanks, because then you can make your own mind up if a tank needs it or not. Right, so remember, I actually do this, so my tanks don't necessarily need me to do this, but we'll find a tank where the plants maybe do need it, right? So let's get that overdone. Let's get that overdone here. Let's do that now. All right, guys, let's have a look at a tank and we'll see. Let's just have a quick look and we'll see what we can see. Right, so this is what I'm saying, just to give you an idea of what it is I'm actually doing in my tanks. Minimal moss, but a plant is good. And the reason I want minimal moss is because I prioritize breeding shrimp over everything, and that includes the way the tank looks. Now let's go over here, because we're talking about the tanks that we have done with tropical plant soil. So there's quite a few of them here. Up here, let me see. Some of these tanks were ones that I did half tropical plant soil and half ADA. And yeah, I'm having awesome results with this. So this was a really recent one. And you can see the moss at the back. It's grown really, really nice, right? But it won't stay like this, guys. It won't stay like this. So this tank was set up on the 1st of the 11th, so it's the 1st of November last year. I actually have shrimp in here already, buried females, so this tank is doing really, really good. I can see that the plant is doing fantastic, but as I said, it won't stay like this, right? So we'll probably get to maybe month 3 or 4, and I'll start to see signs of nutrient deficiency in the moss. Right, so that is when you would dose your fertilizer. Let's find a tank that needs it done, right? So as I said, my tanks are pretty well kept right now. I mean, it shows you how well it works. Look at this tank. This is just Java moss, and this tank is like 220 litres, I think, this one. And it's just full of moss. And so if I see that any of these plants are starting to go yellow, that's a good indicator that we need to dose our ferts. Look at this, look at the growth. Right, so this is probably closest to the tanks that I need to actually do something about it, but you can see the moss as well. This is probably the closest. So we'll dose something in here, just to show you me actually dosing something on camera. So remember what I said, guys, this isn't the right bottle for this. This was the premium nutrition. You want the specialized nutrition, because the premium nutrition doesn't have nitrogen and stuff in it. Right, and we want to add that to the tank. Now bearing in mind, right, remember what we said, whenever you dose ferts you have to be cautious, especially when it has nitrogen in it, nitrates or nitrogen in it, because the shrimp can get nitrate poison and all this other stuff, right? So you want to go with minimal dosing. I don't think we even talked about dosing, did we? So the dose that I do, guys, is 1 pump, which is 2 ml of this stuff on our Fertilizer Friday, if the tank needs it. So that's why it's called Fertilizer Friday. Let's go back to the tanks. That's why it's called Fertilizer Friday, because we go and visually inspect the tank like this, and I would say that this moss is growing rather stringy. You see it? Right, and I wasn't too fussed about this tank plant wise, because this is set for a redo anyway, because we're going to change the soil, because I like a dark soil over Academia. But you can see that, look at all the shrimp on the bottom. And so what we simply do, guys, is you get your fertilizer, try and get it near water flow, and it's basically 1 pump. Oh, there you go, there's 1 full squirt. Right? So that is all we do. Right? I'm not really a big fan of this squirty technology here, because sometimes it squirts out a little bit, sometimes it slows, but this was actually blocked that last time. But yeah, you saw how much went in there, and that is it. Right, and then you'll look at the plants, hope for better growth. And guys, yeah, a good sign, let's have a look at a tank up here. A good sign that you're doing it well is when you look at the tanks. Look at this. This is the perfect example of a tank that was doing great, and then it struggled plant-wise, and then I intervened with our fertilizer, and now it's doing great again. I actually don't think I put fertilizer on this probably for about a month or 2, but look at all that lovely Look at all the green tips on this moss as it's grown. I actually had to pull a lot of this out of here probably like 2 weeks ago.